A few economic developments this week in Washington and on Wall Street that continue to send mixed signals about the health of the U.S. economy and whether Congress and the president can prevent a government shutdown. Plus, the unexpected departure of House Speaker John Boehner and what that means. So joining us for this segment is the nation's money answers man and personal finance expert Jordan Goodman. We welcome him. Also, Republican strategist Jeanette Hoffman is sticking around, and financial planner Jim McCarthy. I saw an article today, Jordan Goodman, that said that the Fed got it exactly right. They didn't raise interest rates 2 weeks before, and all the way up to that meeting they said they were going to. You are one of the people who have said from the very beginning that they would not raise interest rates. What do you know that everybody else doesn't?
The economy is much weaker than most people think. And we're in a deflationary environment here. You do not raise interest rates in a deflationary environment. The only reason you'd raise rates in this environment is to get back to so-called normalized rates. Mm-hmm. You know, we're 6 years into a recovery. You shouldn't have rates at 0%, basically. But the reality is prices are falling for oil, for soybeans, for all kinds of commodities. That shows the weak demand. The unemployment number we had on Friday, 142,000 jobs, much less than expected.
But we see on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis the economy growing, so that is a very good sign, isn't it?
Well, in some areas it is. The car economy is doing well. The housing economy is doing relatively well. Some biotechnologies. There are areas that are doing okay, but a lot of areas are not doing that well, particularly the oil patch. We've had oil down to $45 a barrel from 100 or more. There's tremendous layoffs that's already happened and more to come. So that's having a pretty wide impact on the economy. So I think we're in a deflationary environment.
Republican strategist Jeanette Hoffman, our Republican friends are saying, well, the economy could be growing faster. But we've had this really good, not great, but we've had this good recovery. Is there anything they could harp on in the
I think they're going to say, like Jordan did, it hasn't been strong enough. Mm-hmm. President Obama hasn't done enough to create jobs. And I think that's going to be part of the Republican message in the presidential campaign coming up. That it's just not there.
Jim McCarthy, do your clients, are they aware of what's going on? Are they worried? Do they pay attention to any of this?
Certainly they pay attention to it, and yeah, there's a lot of worry out there. Clients who are older, trying to live on a fixed income or live off their assets, obviously the low interest rates are a real drag for them. I mean, a few years ago, CDs were 4 or 5%. Clients could earn a decent income and live on that. Now they can't. So that's clearly a concern for our clients. I think on the economy, one of the things that everybody's got to get used to, and I'm not an economist by any stretch, but I think population growth in the U.S. has really slowed compared to where it was a decade or so ago. And population growth has a real factor in growing GDP, gross domestic product. More people means more services and goods to feed a growing society. So the population growth has slowed down. I think that's going to maintain us at a lower level of GDP, hopefully a sustainable level, as you've said.
You talk about jobs, you got the jobs numbers, they weren't great. The unemployment rate remains the same. But I read an article, I think a couple of days ago, where they said the job situation is such that these manufacturing jobs that folks on the lower socioeconomic scale would usually get, the manufacturing jobs, are not there anymore. A lot of it is tech.
And they can't qualify for them anyway, because
they're in the 50s and 60s, and they simply cannot.
Computer-oriented jobs. Yeah. So some important numbers came out of that unemployment report. 350,000 people dropped out of the workforce altogether, not even looking or retired.
Does that mean they're retired?
No, some of them retired, but some of them have given up. So the participation rate is down to the lowest level since 1977. Right. Mm-hmm. So that means a lot of people who would like to get jobs are not in the market at all. They just either don't have the skills or have given up.
Are the jobs not there? Or
no, there are jobs there, Frank. There's about 5 million job postings that cannot be filled right now. Right. But they're in technical areas. They might be plumbers, electricians, computer people. There are jobs to be available, but we have a big mismatch between the jobs that exist and the skills we have out there.
Jeanette, we have immigration, we have gun control now an issue. As we go to the presidential election, you think the economy will be as big an issue?
Absolutely.
You think so?
I think so. I think, one of the boogeyman words is outsourcing, and so many jobs are outsourced to China. Well, there's a reason for that, and that's because the policies here in this country, it just doesn't make sense for businesses to keep jobs here. It's easier for them to send them to China or India. So I think the Republican presidential candidates you're gonna hear a lot of talk about ways we can stimulate the economy and make it easier for businesses to grow here in the United States and create new jobs.
All right, I'm gonna ask Jordan and Jim at the same time, if I have money and I'm in a pretty good spot here, how do I make my money more money in this particular economy?
I think you have to be diversified. there's no way to truly predict what's going to be the thing that's going to work next. Obviously, certain areas of the economy have been depressed. The oil patch, for example, is prices are way down, so there may be an opportunity to get some upside if the economy starts to grow again. One of the things that we are seeing is some onshoring, actually, of some work because of the decline in natural gas prices. So the cost to operate businesses in the U.S. has gone way down. So you're actually seeing some onshoring, which if that was to continue with the lower oil prices, there could be some upside from that.
Julie, there is a vehicle. You have a vehicle.
I would actually disagree with Jim. I do not think you want to be in the oil patch as an investor. I think oil prices could go lower. There was a recent Goldman Sachs projection oil could go into the 20s from its 40s right now.
Which is great for drivers.
It is.
And
it's
Americans.
but not for producers.
Good for me.
Yeah, right. So here's something that I've done myself, which might be helpful to some of the viewers. I do something called commercial mortgage bridge loans. It's a way of getting a 6% yield over a 1-year period extremely safely. You get monthly cash flow. You get your money back at the end of the year. There's a website related to it, commercialmortgagebridgeloans.com, and they're lending money to high-quality commercial real estate projects, hotels, shopping centers, apartment building. They can't get loans from traditional banks because of all the regulation from Dodd-Frank and so on. They take these loans, get their projects done, you get monthly interest, get your money back at the end of the year. There are no commissions or fees whatsoever. It's a nice, safe place. I think we're in a deflationary environment and a bear market in stocks, so I think it's time to be cautious. There's an alternative for people.
Okay, let's talk about John Boehner. Unexpectedly steps down, okay? A few days before the government shutdown was looming and so on, and we've gone beyond that. First of all, what does his departure mean going forward? Because we have a temporary resolution that'll take us into mid-December.
Well, December 11th, but there's actually a crisis before that.
Exactly.
Right.
Which is the debt ceiling has to be raised by November 5th.
All right, now is anybody running the show down there, and will they be able to get a consensus, or are we looking at another government shutdown and maybe
This would be bigger than a government shutdown. If we default on our national debt, that's bigger than a government shutdown.
Right.
And last time, remember, we got up right to the edge of the fiscal cliff, and at the last possible second, we stopped it. I think we might have something similar.
Jim, does your average investor worry about this stuff or figure that Washington will figure it out?
Oh, they certainly do. I mean, a lot of my clients are mostly concerned about their Social Security benefits, to be quite honest with you. That's the first thing that they ask. Point of clarification, Kevin McCarthy, who's the majority leader, who's up for the speaker, is not my brother. Even though I do have a brother, Kevin
Well, we'd
McCarthy.
have him on if he were.
But, and I do think that Jonathan points out that November 11th is, but there's always some machinations they can do to extend that debt ceiling. So it'll probably really be December 11th, but we're probably pretty likely to come right up against that. And that's really terrible thinking about it when people are going into the holiday season, to have that over their heads, whether they're the people that could be directly affected, like government employees, or people who are trying to make travel plans, to a national park or wherever it might be. So, but yes, my clients are really worried about the dysfunction more than anything else.
Jeanette, I heard this the other day. Boehner's announcing he's stepping down, and somebody said now the crazies have taken control.
Well, I think there's some truth
I mean left and right crazies, and nobody in the middle.
I think there's some truth that the fringe sides of both parties, the extreme Republicans on the right and the extreme liberals on the left, are more and more controlling Congress. And that's because the way the congressional districts have been redesigned, they're very, very safe seats. So in a Republican district, the most Republican candidate wins. You can't be middle of the road, you can't be moderate on any issue. And that's why we have the Tea Party controlling the Republican Party, and that's why Speaker Boehner
Knowing that quickly, because we just have a minute or so, does that worry you?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're having total gridlock. No matter who gets elected president, it's going to be hard to get anything done, basically.
Does that worry you, Jim?
Yeah, it does. I mean, there are people there that are more concerned about making a point than actually getting things done, and that is a scary way to run our country.
Right.
Compromise is a dirty word, and it shouldn't be.
It certainly is. And I can remember a time when we had most of the legislators in the middle and the fringe here, and now it seems to be, which makes a compromise more difficult. Gentlemen and lady, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Frank.
And thanks for joining us on Fresh Outlook. I'm Frank Cipolla, and we will see you next time.